In this video, I will discuss the teaching cycle. The work of a teacher does not start and end in teaching itself. The teaching process is not a linear activity that starts with planning and ends with testing. Instead, it is a cycle of repeating stages until the students acquire an understanding of the targeted concepts and skills. You may think of the teaching cycle as a spring. You go through the same process over and over again, but each time with a more informed objective and a better understanding of what it means to learn and teach mathematics. There are many models of the teaching cycle that various educators have developed throughout the years. However, all models boil down to 6 common stages. 1. Identify objectives. 2. Plan instructions. 3. Implement plan. 4. Check for understanding. 5. Reflect on teaching. And 6. Assess learning and reflect on results. The cycle that involves these stages is illustrated here. The following describes each stage of the teaching cycle. 1. Identify objectives. What knowledge and or skills do the students need to learn? You must be guided by the content standards, performance standards, and the learning competencies that are found in the curriculum guide. 2. Plan instruction. What strategies must be implemented for the students to achieve the objectives targeted in the previous stage? In planning instruction, it is important that you have mastered the content of the lesson that you are about to teach. It is also beneficial to be familiar with your students, such as what they know, how they learn, etc. 3. Implement plan. This stage is where you conduct the learning activities that you have prepared during the planning stage. A word of advice: even though you have carefully and delicately planned for the lesson, you must be flexible with the possible changes. 4. Check for understanding. Teaching is about helping students learn. During the implementation of the lesson plan, you must every now and then check whether the students have understood what you have covered so far. Facial reactions and verbal cues help in assessing whether or not the students can move on to another concept or skill. If not, you might need to give a more elaborate explanation, more examples, or whatever you think is needed based on the students' reactions. This stage also makes use of formative assessments. 5. Reflect on teaching. You must evaluate every teaching period that you finish. Were the objectives achieved? Were the implemented strategies effective? How can instruction be improved? Your answers to the last 2 questions will give you insight on how to improve instruction the next time you teach the same lesson. However, if your answer in the first question is no, then the objectives were not met. Then you need to plan again. 6. Assess learning and reflect on results. This stage gives you a concrete measure of what the students have learned. In math, this is usually through a paper and pen examination. However, some authentic assessments may also be implemented. Take note that this stage does not end in assessing learning. You need to reflect on the result. After assessment and reflection, you will once again identify the next learning goals, and so the cycle continues. So let us have an example. So the following is a narrative of how a teacher might experience the teaching cycle. So first, identifying objectives. For example, Teacher Anton identified multiplication of whole numbers up to 2 digits as the goal of his next lesson. Then, in planning instruction, Teacher Anton thought it is best to apply a constructivist approach to help his students learn techniques in multiplying whole numbers. He planned a lesson that incorporates the problem-solving strategy. Then, implementing the plan, the class went on smoothly. The activities that Teacher Anton prepared were successfully done by his students. Then, in checking for understanding, to make sure that his students understood the lesson, Teacher Anton gave a 3-item exercise as an exit pass. Next is reflecting on teaching. Based on the exit pass, Teacher Anton found out that many of the students have difficulty multiplying the numbers that involve the digit 8. So he decided to do a find your error activity the next day for the students to realize their mistakes. He also planned to give a short drill on skip counting by 8. And in assessing learning and reflecting on the results, Teacher Anton later on gave a multiplication quiz. 90% of the students passed. He planned to give remedial exercises to those who failed. This teaching cycle taught Teacher Anton that the students can discover concepts on their own. However, they must still be guided by a teacher because misconception may arise. As a summary, teaching involves a repetitive cycle of defining objectives, planning and implementing instruction, assessing learning, and reflecting on teaching and learning. Each part of the cycle provides a better understanding of what it means to teach and learn mathematics, and so should result in better instruction in the next repetition of the cycle. So that is the teaching cycle. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have learned something.